New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Oh, good morning. I'm in Joshua Tree, California right now. This is Reverend Victoria, and I have a funny connection, so I'm not quite sure when I'm here and when I'm not. So hopefully you can hear me okay and everything is good on your end. So I think everything technically, I think from the other side is okay. But anyway, this is just preparing you. I'm Reverend Victoriaa Bomberry, and it's so great to see everyone this morning. I'm so happy to be here and be in this lovely, lovely place in California. Today, we're going to be talking about sharing peace. And as I was preparing for this, I was thinking about all the different ways that we share peace. And I also was thinking about how different cultures share peace and what kinds of things that are done to kind of pave the way for us to be in right relationship with one another. And one of the things that I noticed was that in Christianity, there has been a long practice in I think almost all of the denominations of Christianity, to have part of the liturgy of that is actually called sharing peace. And this has its origins in the Sermon of the Mount, Matthew 5:23-24. And this is always one of my favorite parts of the New Testament is the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus said, "If you are offering your gift at the altar, and there you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your offering there before the altar and go first to be reconciled to your brother, and then come and present your offering." So passing the peace began as a way for people in the Christian community to be reconciled to one another before making their offering at the altar. And for this reason, that the peace always comes before communion. So it's interesting to think about that there is this preparation that we go through ritually that prepares us to be in the presence of the sacred. And we always are. There's never any separation. But as we go through life, we are looking at ways that we practice. And this is a wonderful practice of reconciling first – with all those people in our life and then taking communion if in Christian communities. So I think this is a beautiful practice. And if you think about it, that's the liturgy in many of the Christian churches. And if you think about what we do in Centers for Spiritual Living in many of our communities, we always take time at some part of the service, or many people do, take time in some part of the service to greet one another, to talk with one another, to give hugs, to shake hands, to do something that creates this goodwill and really prepares us to be in communion with one another and with the divine. And I don't think that we necessarily think about that intentionally, as that's what we're doing when we're practicing sharing the peace with one another. And of course, if we're not feeling good about someone, we're probably not going to be able to participate in this. But because we create that intentionality in our communities, we do participate in a full-bodied manner with everyone in the congregation. So that is a way of sharing the peace. And I love it. I love thinking about it in terms of being intentional, being a practice of sharing the peace in the safe container of church or the center that you may be attending. And during COVID, we've kind of had a way of not being able to do that. Well, we haven't had a way to really be in contact, physical contact with one another, with the distancing, and also being online. So I want to talk about one way that we might do this, share the peace, do this practice in either in person without touching, or in our virtual meetings. So this was developed by a woman named Jessica Young, and she's a choreographer and dancer, and she created this way, and this way of passing the peace or sharing the peace where we don't touch. But it is a really beautiful thing. And one of the things that maybe people have talked about a lot in your community is the importance of movement and dance. And I know that a lot of our communities, we love movement. We love to dance. We love the music. We love moving our bodies and just feeling spirit move through us in that way. So this is another way that we can share the peace without actually physically touching. So let's practice this. And what we do is we bring our hands to our heart, and then extend our hands in front of us to the other person. And they're doing the same. They're receiving. They have their hands out, they're receiving. And then we bring this back, and then we slightly bow. And then the same holds true for the other person. They have their hands on their heart. They extend their hands, that offering of peace, and they bring that back to their heart and slightly bow. And what a beautiful, beautiful practice. What a beautiful practice that is. So that's another way that we can share the peace in a more formal way with people. Now, it's very interesting too, culturally. Jewish people, when they meet one another, they say shalom, right? When they say goodbye, shalom. And that is a greeting of peace. It means peace, peace be unto you. And the same when you leave. So both hello and goodbye rest on peace. They have that idea of peace, creating this reconciliation between people when they meet, just that beauty of peace. And the same holds true for people who are, for Arabic people, for Arabic speaking people. And it is Ashalam. Ashalam. That is the greeting, and it also means peace be unto you. And imagine, I think, I often talk about this actually, that we've kind of gotten out of the habit of greeting one another if we don't know people. And if we think about what that means when we are alienated from one another, there's so many people, we don't know them, we don't know who they are, we don't know where they come from. And, kind of the practice, at least in the United States, is just to kind of, avert your eyes and move away, as fast as you can from someone. And it's always wonderful, when I'm out and about and someone actually greets me. And, I always try to greet people when I'm out walking or when I'm somewhere where, it's not a crowded situation, but it's possible to actually meet the eyes of someone and greet them. It does create and share peace. And wouldn't it be lovely if we had a way of sharing peace just with a good morning and have that intentionality in our good morning that it means peace unto you. And the answer, of course, would be peace unto you as well. So just in our greetings is a way that we can share peace and being intentional about really connecting with people when we're out and about, connecting with them and creating that feeling of goodwill and wonder at just the divine nature of everyone. So I'm going to encourage us to do that, to really have that person-to-person connection as we move forward in this time that we're moving into, these high holy days, as we might call them. And, even if we don't have a Christian background, there's also the whole idea of the coming of the darkest night and then moving into the light, looking forward to the coming of that light. And of course, that light is represented as peace. Peace is just all of those things that we think about. I want to just say a little bit more about shalom. And it means more than peace. It means harmony, wholeness, completeness, prosperity, welfare, and tranquility. And those are all the qualities that we at Centers for Spiritual Living call God qualities. All of those are qualities of God. And we know that as the divine perfection of reality. So that's what shalom means. And shalom can mean either peace between two entities, especially between human beings and the divine, or between two countries. So that idea of either a tribe, right? Because Jewish people are tribal people, or, and we may call that a nation. Now we have modern nations, so it could mean peace between nations. Or it could mean to the well-being, welfare, or safety of an individual or a group of individuals. So there's so much meaning just in that word, shalom. And in Arabic, as I mentioned, it's salam. And there's various dialects that have different ways of saying this. Biblically, shalom is seen in reference to the well-being of others. So when we meet people and we have this feeling of sharing peace, we're really wishing them well. We're wishing them well. And that's found throughout all of the languages that have that Semitic root. So let's think about that. We could even see namaste as a form of passing the peace. And I think that a lot of people like to use namaste as a way of recognizing one another. And that could be a way of sharing the peace. That's a way that we share peace with one another, by saying namaste. And I also think a lot about how we share peace when we extend metta to one another. And metta, of course, is known popularly as the loving kindness meditation. And really what we're doing in metta is to create that intentionality around sharing well-being with everyone, good wishes for ourselves and for everyone around us. So that's also a way of sharing peace. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with metta, there's different ways that there's different phrases that you can use, but the main idea is that you are sending well wishes to people, and that includes whatever you can think of that is wishing well to others. So the phrases that I use are phrases from the teacher that I had, and that is Jack Cornfield. And that is, you start with yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be free from inner and outer danger. May I be well in mind and body. May I be at ease and happy. So those are 4 phrases that, form the root of my practice. And then you can start thinking about other things that you might say. You might say, may I have peace in my life. May I have harmony. May I have wholeness. May I have completeness. May I have prosperity. Whatever it is that you are thinking about, extending well wishes to yourself, you can do that with metta. And that's also a way of sharing the peace. Because in order to share, we have to be filled, right? To really share in a meaningful way, we need to be filled with peace and well-being ourselves. And we need to feel comfortable with ourselves, comfortable in knowing that we have all of this in us. We're filled up and we give and share from that overflow, because sort of like, this deep well within us that is filled with peace, and we give from that. So let's think about that with metta in particular, that idea of peace. And each one of the phrases that I mentioned are echoed by Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes says, peace comes from the absence of fear, from a consciousness of trust, from a deep underlying faith in the absolute goodness and mercy, the final integrity of the universe in which we live, and of every cause to which we give our thought, our time, and our attention. So, the first phrase of metta is, may I be filled with loving kindness. And we're opening ourselves up in that moment. We're opening our hearts in this powerful, powerful way. May I be free from inner and outer danger. So free from inner and outer danger. That is the first line of the quote from Ernest Holmes that I read. Peace comes from the absence of fear. So doing this practice of metta, there's a built-in way that we are affirming. We really are affirming. I think it's very poetic to have it as an aspiration, but we are intending, we're setting our intentionality that we will be free from fear. Fear, inner danger, which causes fear, and outer danger, which also causes fear. So I think that most of our fear comes from things that will never happen, worries about things that will never happen. Maybe we worry about not having enough money. But when we have a job, we have the capability of paying all our bills. We're able to do everything. And it's just an irrational fear. And yet we allow our minds to run with that. So in this intentionality, when we do these practices, that is a way of just affirming our own peace. Because peace, remember, according to Ernest Holmes and all the wise people of the ages, peace comes from the absence of fear. And let's take this a step further. I mentioned that as we are meeting people and greeting people, and if we think about, it's been interesting, over the years. I mean, since we've been human beings, we have had fear of people we don't know. And that fear would, probably had some basis in reality, because if you didn't know people, you did not know what their intentions were. So when people met, of course, they're going to be feeling one another out in a certain way, and kind of figuring out what the situation is. And, the wisdom of the ages, the sages created these greetings like shalom to indicate that this is a divine opening here between people. Shalom. Here we are. There's a misunderstood saying, among Lakota people, and it's kind of in movies. People will say how, but what the greeting is generally how cola, and that is indicating a relationship between people. And the highest form of friendship is cola. So when you meet someone and you say, how cola, you are opening up that same divine space of that relationality and that wishing for the best for that person based on that felt relationality to them. So that's another way of sharing that peace. Just think about that warm feeling you have when when you extend that humanity, that relationality to someone else, that kinship to someone. And this kinship is even higher than blood kinship because it's not based on blood ties. It's based on this conviviality that is powerful conviviality, and it can't be broken. So, the honor is that it's never broken. So that's a peace that is kept for a lifetime. So just imagine that, someone entering into a relationality with everyone they meet in this type of friendship and peace. So peace comes in so many forms. We've in the 20th century and even now into the 21st century, we generally think about peace being the absence of war, which we can't really claim as humanity right now. We can't really claim that we have an absence of war, since we do have wars going on all over the globe. And we haven't reached that plateau where we can say we've put war behind us, it's done with. We've learned how to work with one another. And yet we have all of this background from simple greetings like shalom and assalamu alaikum as pointers toward a way of living together that is absolute peace. And then how kola, that type of greeting that has this relationship that is beyond blood ties. It's that divine relationship that is honored and cherished and cared for. So I think that, as we think about peace, I'm encouraging us to think about those beautiful relationships that we create in our lives. And, starting with ourselves, having peace with ourselves, having this deep forgiveness of ourselves for whatever, and reconciliation with ourselves about our own personal journeys. It really doesn't matter what we've done in our past. We're not bound by that. Our teachings say that principle is not bound by precedent. Doesn't matter what's gone on in the past. What matters is where we are right now and what our intentions are in this very moment. So as we grow in peace with ourselves, we can extend that peace into the world. And it can be as simple as a greeting. And I really, really love that idea, that it can be as simple as a greeting. And I wanted to read a poem by Maya Angelou. Well, let me do Tagore, because I think this one is really, really a beautiful poem, and I wanted to share this with you. Peace, my heart. Let the time for the parting be sweet. Let it not be a death, but completeness. Let love melt into memory and pain into songs. Let the flight through the sky end by folding of the wings over the nest. Let the last touch of your hands be gentle like the flower of the night. Stand still, O beautiful end, for a moment, and say your last words in silence. I bow to you and hold up my lamp to light you on your way. And of course, this is, the piece of that we might want to think about. We're thinking about this piece that this is about the end of a life. But if we think about this as the end of a season, we go into that with peace. And, this is a time when most people, well, a lot of cultures for a new year is also a time of reconciliation, a time of peace. For my people, before the new year, there was this reconciliation that had to take place. So this is something that is kind of hardwired into us. The reconciliation that Jesus spoke of in the Sermon on the Mount, that is paramount for us to move into a next phase, into a new season. And as the light fades, right, the winter night gets darker and darker, and then the light starts coming back. That's when we want to be filled with that peace, filled with reconciliation with everyone. And I'm going to read that poem. I'm going to suggest that we read that poem that I just quoted by Tagore as that kind of, with that kind of interpretation. The fading of the light, the forgiveness, and the mercy, and then the coming of the new light. And then I want to do one more poem. And this is Maya Angelou. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate and strangely made good, made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside. If you will study war no more, come clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and stone were one. What an incredibly beautiful poem this is. And again, at the heart of peace is reconciliation to one another. And coming back into this divinity that Maya Angelou speaks of. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and stone were one. So from the very beginning, that peace, that completeness that was at this point of the beginning, right from the very beginning. And again, we think about how important it is for individuals and countries to be at peace with one another, because any kind of nation, of course, is made up of people. And I think that in these times that we're in right now, there is a feeling that we are a little bit separate from what our nations are doing. We're people living our lives, and it's the operation of that's kept out of sight in a way, where war takes place, right? It's kept out of sight, at least for people here in the United States. And we don't necessarily feel that we are a part of that, and yet we are. So we are moving toward a point where we're coming into that consciousness that we are responsible, as well as our government, right, for maintaining the peace. And we do that by maintaining the peace within first, and then moving out from there into all of the world. So this requires just a little bit of an effort, in a way, to it requires effort. It requires intention to move from individual peace into being an advocate for peace. And for my generation, and I know that it's a timeless song. There's John Lennon's song, Imagine. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. And, when he wrote this, I think that there was a great understanding that much of the strife that we have experienced over the years is over belief, right? What religion are you? What beliefs do you have? And I hope that I've given an indication that as human beings, we are not tied to having to behave according to dogma, according to ideas that our religion has, right? That would cause strife among other people. And if we look at those greetings that I have mentioned, all of them are individual greetings, how you greet an individual. And of course, they extend to countries as well. We know that. But it starts with that individual connection, building that network, strengthening those webs of interconnection with everyone we meet. That's how it works. When we become isolated and encapsulated in our own beliefs and hardened into that, then it's harder to reach out. And yet we know that every culture on earth has this urge for that connection, has this divine idea that we are more than blood relations. We have something that's even higher than a blood relation in terms of friendship, kinship, and love. So that all generates peace. So when we move through this week, I'm just going to encourage you to do this practice of movement. Maybe you want to get up every morning and do this movement. And of course, I do a practice that I've shared with you a few times, and I'm going to do it again. I sometimes will jump out of bed with just incredible energy and enthusiasm and put my arms up in the sky, look up, and give great thanks to the source of everything for all the gifts that I've been given. And then I just bring that down into my heart and just hold it there for a moment. And then I send those gifts out into the world. And then I bring them back, knowing that they are coming back to me. So that's sharing peace as well, right? Sharing our gifts, that's sharing peace. So let's do sharing peace in the way that Jessica Young has taught. And this movement is good. I'm glad that I'm moving this morning, moving around and getting that feeling of inspirited, that feeling of being in spirit right now. So the hands to the heart. Extend those hands out. Excuse me. And then bring them back and bow. So this week, as you go about your business and you see people, take a chance just to make eye contact with people that you meet casually, maybe people passing you on the street. Give a little nod and know that nod is a deep bow. Bowing to their divinity. And if you love saying namaste, take that time to say namaste in your mind to everyone that you meet. Or extend, just go through the practice of extending peace to them. And of course, you probably don't want to do this because people will not know what you're doing, but, do this silently to yourself. Know that you're extending peace to them. Your hands are open, right? And why did people have open hands in the past? Because they were showing that they had no weapons. There's no weapons here. There's nothing that's going to be used against you. It's open. It's open. Think about that. Think about that. There's nothing I'm going to be using against you. My hands are open. And that means our words, how we use our words. We're not going to use them against anyone. We're only using our words to be beneficial to others. So let's do that this week. Let's see how we share this peace with everyone we meet. From just a slight nod and a smile to, thinking about peace be unto you, and just knowing that we are all one. And thank you all for being here this morning with me on this beautiful, beautiful day. It's so sunny and gorgeous. Next week, we have Reverend Z, who will be speaking on Oh Holy Days and Nights. And, as we're moving into this time where we're recognizing the holy every day, it will be absolutely wonderful with Reverend Z. And I just want to remind you as well that we're so grateful for all the gifts that you give to this network. We're so grateful that we're able to broadcast to people all over the world, that this is a time that we get to spend together to create these relationships that I've been talking about all day. That we spread the peace, we spread the joy, we spread the love all around. So have a beautiful, beautiful day. Love to all. Peace be with you.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And Suze Ajay, thank you for your very generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.